Hello and welcome to this session. I'm Oskar, and with me today I've got my colleague Nacho. We've been working together to improve the Cypher editing experience wherever you'd edit Cypher. So historically, it's had a lot of room to improve, I would say. And the only real place you'd get editor support is in Neo4j browser, where you get some syntax highlighting and some auto completions. But yeah, it's not super great. So that's why we started this project to make it a lot better. So today we'll walk you through a demo to start with, and then do an overview of the current state of the project. It's still early days, but yeah, I've got some stuff working at least. Then we'll go through our plans, and then we'll tell you how you can get involved, integrating this into your existing applications, or if you want to join us and build a plugin for an editor or something, how you can contribute. And then at the end, we have some time for questions. So, well, without further ado, I'll kick us off with the demo then. So here I've got a Neo4j Workspace running. You can access it through Aura or just by visiting this workspace.neo4j.io domain. And right now we have live here, if you press this ... menu, you can turn on the new experimental editor. I've loaded a Stack Overflow dataset here. So as you would expect, you have some answers, questions, tags, and users. And I'll walk through some examples of what we've done to improve the editing experience. So I'll start us off with syntax highlighting. So I'll show an example of something that doesn't really work well in browser and or query here. So here you see this keyword here, transactions, doesn't get highlighted as a keyword because the grammar is kind of out of date, and the comments don't work either. So if we look at this in the new editor, we'll see comments get highlighted properly. You can see clearly that it's comment, and all the keywords show up as you would expect them to. Another common complaint in the syntax highlighting that is in browser today is when you clash with keywords. So if we remember the data set I said we have answers, questions, users, and tags. And as you can imagine, user is a keyword because you can use create user, drop user, and such. And that leads to this problem that I'm sure some of you have run into, which is your query just comes out one green mess. Like it says, it thinks that this is a keyword, but it's actually a variable. And I think that this is a label when it's, or it's a keyword when it's a label. So it doesn't really look good, and it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So looking at this in the new editor, we've made sure to understand your query before we add the syntax highlighting. So that means you'll get something that looks more like this. So we can clearly distinguish the label here. We can see a variable name, and we see another color here for the property key. So a bit nicer. Lastly, on the syntax highlighting, I have one more example, and that's using all of the token types that we support in Neo4j. So here we go with an example. This is a query I wrote just for this demo here, and we look for a question that's been tagged, where the title is this specific thing, or the uppercase is like the tag name is Cypher, or it has favorite counts, basically. So in this query, we have a parameter, we have a function call, we have a number, some operators, some strings, and of course, the graph pattern data here. But it's not really easy to distinguish what's going on. So if we look at this with our new editor, it looks like this instead. So now you can clearly see here's a function call, the parameters get their own color, operators get their own color, numbers get their own color. Much nicer, at least in my opinion. All right, so that's that on syntax highlighting. I'm gonna move on to what we've done in the error space. So in the past, you needed to run your query through like trial and error when you got syntax errors. You didn't get any real help just from typing it. You'd try over and over again, and we didn't think that was a very good experience. So what we've built now is that we can test if your query works well without running it. So let's look at a few examples here. Here we have some spelling errors in this query. So right off the bat, we see this red here, unexpected token. Did you mean return? Well, yes, I did. And now we get a new error saying here, this variable is not defined. Well, yeah, it's because there's a spelling error in the definition of the variable. So we do that. Then now we're down to one warning. This relationship type is not in the database. Then let's try the completion there. So no, that's much better. So now it should run nicely. And then I want to show you another really easy error to make. And it's with administrative commands. And it's hard to know when the right, like which data type to use, so to speak. So in this example, I'm trying to create the user for myself if it doesn't exist with a new password. But I get this error here saying that it expected an identifier. So using this new tool here, I can more easily see what's going wrong. And then here, it expected a string. So hopefully writing administration commands should be easier with this new editor. And then I will also show you some of the auto-completion stuff we built. So if I try to recreate this query here, and that can usually be tricky because at least I forget, is like, when should I do set and when should I do the password and all that kind of stuff. So let's see if it's easier with the completion that we built. So starting with the create, then I go to a new, then I'll trigger the completion here with control space, and then I can see a filtered list of all the keywords that can come after a create. So here I can see I can create an alias, I can create composite database, can constrain indexes, constraints, roles, that kind of stuff. This time I'm interested in user. So then I'm going to type a name. At this point, it trigger the completion again with control space. And then I can see if not exist or set is what could come here. So I go for if not exist, and then go for set, and then go decrypted, password. And then I can see this error message here saying, well, expected a string. So let's add a very safe password, right? So that's how you can use completions to make administration commands easier to type. And then for the last demo, I want to show you the example with all the token types again. So if we run that, and then we're going to see how much help we can get from the auto completion in typing this query with all these kind of different things going on. So I'll start with the match here, and then I'll have to type that out. Complete the label, complete the relationship type, complete that, where, question, title. Then I'll have to type this one out. There's input f or can I get the function there? And question. So I don't know how smoothly it comes over from the screen sharing, but yeah, I can complete pretty much any data type here. And here you see the parameters I've defined. And then for the last return here, return, and then question. So yeah, that's how we've improved the auto completion as well. And that's it for the first live demo. So I hope you will like using this in the future, and I'll hand back over to Nacho to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Oskar. Hopefully you all can see my screen now. So first of all, just forward, go to Aura, create an Aura free instance, and you can try out these features yourself. that Oskar has just demoed. I'm gonna give you an overview of the project. So so far, we've added to this project syntax highlighting, which is, as Oskar demoed, the ability for you to get colored Cypher depending on where different constructs of the language, what the role of those constructs in the language play in the query. Auto completions, not only for keywords as we have here, but also for function names, procedure names, variables, properties, linting, which is the ability for you to be getting errors, and this time in your front end, in your client, in your editor, of what's wrong with a query. I will stress out, we accumulate the errors now, so you'll get everything that is wrong with your query. We are not firing background queries to the database as before to tell you what's wrong with your query. And these errors are 100% aligned with Neo4j. So whatever error you are getting in your text editor or in Workspace, then it means if you executed the query in the database, you will get the same error. And we'll be building on these features by adding in the near future signature help. So we'll give you, for the function procedure name and the procedures, the type parameters and the description for the parameters. And we also give you, for those procedures, functions, but also for other constructs in the language like keywords, information on hover of what they are supposed to do. And we'll be adding query formatting, so you'll be able to pretty format the Cypher queries that you've written in your text editors. I'm gonna stress out this. We care about your experience. So in the old experience, you will write a query in browser, and you will not get any error. You will fire it against the database, and you will get a semantic error, and you will be, oh, I'll fix that. So I'm gonna fix the person name there. Then you will execute it a second time, and you will get another error, and you will fix that, and then you will execute it a third time and get another error. So the experience wasn't great, right? So we listened to you. We've crafted this new experience where you are getting all these errors without firing the queries in the background. So you have the squiggly lines under what's wrong with the query. You can fix up all of your queries, and this comes very handy, especially when the queries are very complex and very big. So current structure of the project, of course, we had to pick a language, right, for our project. So we picked up the most popular language after English and Spanish, which is JavaScript. In this case, TypeScript. The repo, which will send a link at the end of the talk to, contains a core library that is called language support, that contains all the logic for this syntax highlighting, linting, auto completions. That library imports the grammar and the semantic analysis from the Neo4j official repository. So it compiles them into a parser and into a semantic analysis that we can use from there. On top of that, we build a React Code Mirror library that you can use from your web applications. So if you want to get that editor with the features Oskar showed embedded in your web application, you can use that package. And a language server, that is what you will use if you want to build a plugin for your favorite text editor. In our case, we have a VS Code plugin, so we'll be providing that in the forthcoming days, weeks. We'll be releasing a first version of that. That's important bits. We have a package that hasn't been released and is embedded in the language server, so you don't need to care about. And we have a demo in the repository that we deployed to GitHub pages, so you can check out that as well. So the important bits: React Code Mirror library, the language server and the language support from that repository. Of course, we are going to tell you about our plans, not without my favorite GIF in the world. We care about the text editors. We want to deliver you the same experience that you have in Workspace through text editors. This improved experience, not the old one, of course, that had a lot of room for improvement. So in the forthcoming days, weeks, as I've said, we are going to be releasing a first version of a VS Code extension. And if I quickly can demo that right now, 1 second. So hopefully now you can see my VS Code. This is a demo of that VS Code extension that I was talking about. It is connected to the same database Oskar was connected to in his demo of Workspace. So I can get the same auto-completions that he was getting, but also the same label types or relationship types. So if I want to search for questions that have been tagged with the Neo4j name, and I see, okay, you are missing a return, right? So, yep, I can get the same kind of experience, same auto-completion, same linting, and same syntax coloring that Oskar was talking about in his workspace demo. So, as I was saying, we'll be releasing this extension very shortly. Let me go back to the presentation. So hopefully you can see my presentation back up again. As I was saying, this was regarding the VS Code extension, but in our plans is to make an IntelliJ plugin as well, backed by this language server, because we care about the developers that are using IntelliJ, which are a lot of the Java, Scala, Kotlin community. And we'll be also releasing something for Jupyter notebooks, because that's where data scientists normally write their queries. So we also want to deliver a good experience for them. Not only that, we have an internal command line tool in the company. Not an internal, sorry. I mistakenly said that. This is Cypher shell. You get this when you install Neo4j. So it is not internal. This is internal though. The demo of it getting auto completions, which it never had. And this is work in progress. We are working hard on this, and we'll be delivering those auto completions as well through Cypher shell, backed by this language support. So this is probably the most important part of the presentation, how you can get involved. So you can either integrate this editor in your web application by downloading the package in npm. I'll stress this is an alpha version, so there are no assurances on how stable the APIs are for neither of the packages that I'm going to mention, but you can start trying it out. So React Code Mirror for the Code Mirror editor that you can integrate into your web app. But you can, if you have another idea for how you could use this directly using the core library, the language support library, you can also use that package directly in your application. If you want to get the auto completions or the syntax validation or the syntax coloring, you can be doing that through the library directly. But what about if you were the one to deliver, for example, a plugin for your favorite text editor, Emacs, Vim, or any other? Like making a text editor plugin on top of a language server is actually not that difficult, and we want your help, and we think it will be a really cool contribution to have in your CV if you wanted to integrate this into your favorite text editor. So you can also do that installing the language server through npm, integrating it into your plugin for the editor, the text editor of your choice. And please give some love to the repo. Give us some stars. The repo is github.com, Neo4j, Cypher language support, is open source under Apache 2 license. File bugs, we'll make some tests for them, or if you want to ask for any feature or open an APR, we are always welcoming open source contributions. Yeah, thanks a lot for coming to this. Obviously, I couldn't leave this without a joke, right? So if you use Notepad, these features are not going to make it to you, but we really hope that we can deliver a better experience for you. And this is your time to take the stage, make us some questions. So maybe I can go into the Q&A. Maybe you can take them alternatively, Oskar.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so let's take the first one. Stefano says, is control space the best to trigger auto-completion? I'd intuitively try with double tap. Someone already answered, but if you want to answer that.
Yeah, I can say the control space is the most common way to like force trigger completions in editors. But most of the time you will not need to type anything. So if you get started on a keyword, it will like automatically trigger a completion for that. So if I just type R, I'll see return. But if I haven't started something and I want to kind of bring the panel up anyway, you can type control space. We considered doing double taps as well, but yeah, we'll see. If I think if it's a common request, I think we could make it configurable, at least in Workspace. Or otherwise, you can build your own Neo4j tool and you can have it be whatever you like.
Exactly. Isn't it configurable in Code Mirror completely? Like you can configure. Yes. So if you integrate the Code Mirror package we talked about, you can choose your own character to trigger the completion. I'd say in VS Code, traditionally is control space as well, but you can choose your own through configuration probably. Okay. Do you want to read the second one, maybe?
I think there's one question about basically about Cypher syntax. So I think they're better served, and it's also already answered by Martin. But I'm going to move on to Stefano's next question and how it works with merge statements. If a label or property may or may not exist, how does it deal with that? No highlighting at all, infer by structure. So if you don't mind, I'll answer it, or should I? Yeah. So on create and merge, we always infer from structure if something is a label or if it's a property or that kind of stuff, and we take care to only warn about missing labels or missing property keys if if it's not a query that could be creating them. So create, you will not see missing label type, right? Because it could be the first label of that type, but in a match you would, and that's most obvious in queries like create database. Well, when you run create database, you wouldn't want us to suggest the databases you already have, right? It makes no sense. But if you stop a database, then we do suggestions. So we have quite a few of these pieces of logic on where to not give suggestions, even though the structure of the language would imply that this is a place where a suggestion would do. And that, because we have to do these like manual decisions, like is this creating or using at some spots, there will be bugs and room for improvement as well. So we'd be really happy to see like bugs and open issues on the GitHub to see where well, we expected this, but I got that, and let's see how we can make it even better.
Yeah, in the case of merge, as Oscar has commented, we treat it as a create in that sense that it could be creating the label, so we won't warn you. But of course, this is the experience that we would expect for ourselves. It may not be the way other users are writing queries. So please give us feedback on what you are struggling with, these errors, this syntax highlighting, so that we can improve that, accommodate it to how most of the people are writing Cypher queries.
All right, you want to take the next one? Casper?
Yes. Casper asks about Eclipse integration. Well, he first says, seems very good. Thanks a lot for the compliment. We are working really hard on this. How about Eclipse integration? Well, it is not in our roadmap at the moment, but as we've said, creating a theme client for any editor seems fairly straightforward and easy. That you can check out the VS Code extension that we have in our repository for an example. If you just want a wrapper on the language server, right? If you want more features like being able to control the connection to different databases and executing the query and getting the results in your text editor, then that's not logic that lives in a language server. So you will need to build up that logic in the plugin. But if you want to make a plugin for Eclipse that is just using the language features, that wouldn't be that difficult. Unfortunately, we don't have time to deliver for all the text editors in the world because there are a lot, but we welcome contributions. We all love open source. So if it is important to you, we are open to giving you help with that, receiving open source contributions from the community.
Yeah, I think for the last one, there is. I'll just want to show Veronique. I think I said it correctly. If you stop sharing, I can share how you would turn it on in Workspace, just because it might not be super simple to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll try to be quick here.
I'll answer quickly the question from Nicola. Is the grammar going to always be updated with every Cypher release? Yes, that's how it's wired right now. We crafted a new antler for grammar that is still experimental, but is delivered with Neo4j. At least partially, it's not yet used in Neo4j, but it is going to be aligned with what Neo4j is capable of doing. Coming back to Veronique question.
Yeah, right. So you've integrated it into the main Neo4j repo. That it's part of their build steps to keep our grammar up to date as well. So that is less manual work than the previous stuff. And yeah, so just to show again how you would integrate this. So you would visit workspace.neo4j.io and then click connect. Then to connect to a local one, you first need to type localhost here and then pick the scheme like this. So this is how I would connect with Workspace, right? Now, when I've got a working connection, we can see here, I've got some random data over in this top right end here. That's where the experimental toggle is. And if it doesn't show up, you should try a force refresh because the Workspace project has some pretty aggressive caching, I think, or at least has had in the past. So that's how you would go about using it. And otherwise, another way to just, if you want to try it out, you could head over to our repo. And over here, we have a demo. So you can just press this link, and that will launch you into this demo page as well. So,
okay, and that's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you.